that marked his life and his papacy. So here are a few examples. Humanity. Karol Wojtyła was passionate about life and the arts. He loved poetry and drama, and in fact he used to be an actor himself and wrote a play before he was ordained a priest. A key moment in his life was when he was employed in a chemical factory.
Questa esperienza di un operaio e nello stesso tempo di un seminarista clandestino mi è rimasta per tutta la vita. Nella fabbrica per fare il mio turno 8 ore di giorno o di notte. Ho portato con me alcuni libri. I miei colleghi, vuol dire gli operai, si sono meravigliati un po', ma non scandalizzati.
He was a pope everybody felt close to. He loved to laugh and wasn't afraid to show it. He was also known for hugging people. He wasn't afraid. He was a man of deep faith who put his trust in God. He prepared for the priesthood at a clandestine seminary founded by the then Cardinal of Krakow, and because of the tense atmosphere, he was ordained in secret. He always challenged everyone to not be afraid of life's difficulties.
Non abbiate paura.
He never denied his health problems. In fact, he would even joke about them every now and then.
Come vedete, è un papa un po' deficiente, ma non ancora decaduto.
He underlined the importance of conscience instead of hatred, and this, he said, was the best way to counteract materialism. He chose understanding as a path towards democracy. The traveling pope. John Paul II was the pope and world leader who traveled the most in history. He visited 129 countries. He took on a total of 146 trips outside of Italy, which adds up to the equivalent of 3 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. And during his journeys, he welcomed meetings with different types of people.
Los mineros queremos que se ponga este casco. Dice un trabajador minero más de Catavi. Creemos en Dios Padre Santo.
His first trip was to Mexico, a country he fell in love with immediately. His last trip was in August 2004, when he traveled to the Lourdes Shrine in the south of France. He died 8 months later. He asked for forgiveness. During the Jubilee in the year 2000, John Paul II asked for forgiveness for the Church's sins. From the Crusades, the Inquisition, divisions within the Church, the persecution of Jews, racism, and social injustice. He even personally forgave Ali Agha, the man who tried to kill him in St. Peter's Square on May 13, 1981. Accessible saints. John Paul II is also remembered for naming saints different cultures could relate to. During his pontificate, he beatified 1,340 people and canonized 483. That number alone is more than the combined canonizations carried out by his predecessors. Among the saints he proclaimed are parents like Gianna Beretta, indigenous people such as Juan Diego and Kateri Tekakwitha. There's also the charismatic Padre Pio, the beatification of Mother Teresa, and Pope John XXIII. Youth. His genuine attitude triggered an instant connection with young people. He suggested they gather together every 2 or 3 years, and that was the beginning of World Youth Day. The first meeting outside of Rome was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, back in 1987. It's from these gatherings that some of the most moving images of his pontificate were shown to the world.
Hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. And this is your opportunity, of course. If you have a question for me, let's see it, and I'll try and answer it. Did you like that beginning part I showed you, that little video clip of St. John Paul II? You know, I just think we were so spoiled those decades that we had him as our Pope. And especially for those of us in the pro-life movement, I know especially for me personally and Father Pavone with our work with Priests for Life, it was a blessing to have him as our Pope. And of course, Father Pavone worked 2 years over at the Council for the Family under St. John Paul II. So he really got to see the Pope quite a few times, celebrated Mass with him. And well, we have a saint in heaven that we always pray to for the guidance for our work. And we're very lucky too at Priests for Life because we were given a first-class relic. We have some of his blood in a reliquary that Cardinal Jebush presented to Priests for Life and said that St. John Paul II would always be a protector for our ministry. Well, joining me today is a good friend of Priests for Life and myself. His name is Patrick Novecosky. I first met Patrick when he worked for Legatus, which is one of those large Catholic CEO kind of organizations to strengthen our faith together out in the marketplace. Patrick also went on to found his own company called Nova Media. And currently, I do believe, which he'll tell us more about, he is the director of a pregnancy resource center, I believe, in Virginia. And today he's going to come to talk to us about his brand new book called 100 Ways John Paul II Changed the World. So, Patrick, welcome to the program.
Hey, Janet, so good to see you.
Great to see you. Well, first of all, what's the pregnancy center that you work as a director for now?
Yeah, so I moved my family from Ave Maria, Florida to Northern Virginia in July, and I started working for the Warrenton Pregnancy Center. We're about an hour outside of Washington, D.C., and relatively brand new center. It's been around for less than 3 years, and we serve people in about 4 different counties in Northern Virginia. So it's a great blessing to be part of boots on the ground in the pro-life pregnancy center movement.
That's right. That's right. And of course, Nova Media is the other company that you founded, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned I worked for Legatus. Legatus is an international organization of Catholic business leaders and CEOs. And I worked there for 15 years, looking after the publications needs for Legatus. And after they moved out of Florida, went back to Michigan, I started Nova Media, which is a marketing communications organization that helps Catholic leaders and Catholic organizations to take their marketing, public relations to the next level. And I see you scrolling through that on your screen right there.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing that on the side part-time, but full-time now working for the Warrenton Pregnancy Center, which has a very easy to remember URL, wpc.life.
Ah, very good. Okay. Well, good luck in that new position.
Thank you.
And the book, 100 Ways John Paul II Changed the World. What gave you the idea for this book?
Well, as a very young man, I had the great blessing to meet the Holy Father 5 times. I worked for the Marian Fathers, the Marians of the Immaculate Conception in Stockbridge, Massachusetts for 5 years. Right. And shortly after I started in that position, I won a contest. I won a trip for 2 to Cancun. And I was 28 years old. I didn't want to go sit on a beach in Cancun. My great desire was to go to Rome and to see the Pope in the square and to experience where the Catholic Church got its start. And so I talked to the travel agent. They said, sure, we'll swap that out for you and you can go to Rome. So I told my boss, who just happened to be very good friends with Cardinal Jebush, the Pope's personal secretary. And in the course of things, my boss said, well, since you're going to Rome, you might as well stay at our house there and do some work and kind of, do some work in Rome and through Eastern Europe. And by the way, would you like to meet the Pope? And I just said, sure, if there's a list, put me on it. So they put me on the list. And long story short, I was in Rome a few days. My brother and I got a phone call that we were going to meet the Holy Father tomorrow morning. And it was October 1st, 1997. and I got to meet John Paul II for the first time. Now, at the time, I was also webmaster of Marian.org, the Marian's website, and I presented John Paul II with some pages from the website on Divine Mercy, on then Blessed Faustina, and there I am, 28 years old, showing the work that my work to the Holy Father. So it was exciting in that I felt like I'm just a farm kid from Saskatchewan. What do I know? And I'm standing in front of the most consequential Pope of the Catholic Church in 500 years, and he's listening to me. I mean, it was a great honor, but it was also very humbling because I knew this man and what he was accomplishing. In subsequent years, I got to meet him again in 1998, and then sort of at a distance in 99, and then in 2000, and again in 2001 on my honeymoon with my wife. So,
I remember.
yeah, so it was 3 private audiences where I actually stood beside him and spoke to him, and he put a rosary in my hand. And then 2 other times in the square, once with my wife, and once he was just, it was a Wednesday audience, and I stood on a chair, and he came by, and I put my hand in his while he was passing by. So 5 times encountering this great and holy man. So that was kind of the impetus that led to the book. These encounters with him, and being able to experience him firsthand, I started to give this talk on how that all happened, how God's providence led me to meet him. And then I knew that it needed more substance. So I put together this top 10 list, like kind of David Letterman style, the top 10 ways that the Pope changed the world. And about 2 years ago, I realized that his 100th birthday was coming up in May of 2020. So that kind of gave rise to the other 90 in the book. I ended up keeping my top 10 essentially the way they were, adding 90 more ways that he changed the world, and put that together in a book. Now, the top 90 are not necessarily in order of importance, but they kind of flow like a story, and there's a theme to them, and they kind of feed off each other as you lead into the top 10. But the top 10, I did rank those, I think, in the importance of which they belong, simply because the more consequential they are, I think the more meat that they need to have behind them. So, and I didn't just come up with these on my own. I've, as you know, being the editor of Legatus magazine, I made many friends who are a lot smarter than me. And so I shot my list by them, and I said, so what do you think about this? Is World Youth Day kind of like number 5, or should that be number 7, or is that even top 10 at all? And so that's kind of how I refined the list, and I think it came out really well.
Yeah, it really did. I noticed that's how the book starts. It starts at number 100, religious freedom, number 99, dying with dignity. But then the top 10 here, that's all the way here at the end. So the number 1 is new evangelization. Number 2 is divine mercy. 3, theology of the body. Number 4, fall of communism. I mean, fall of communism. Right now with what we're going through right now in the United States, with the most socialist thinking person who just is supposed elected as vice president, Kamala Harris, it's pretty scary. It's like, and nowadays these young people, they don't even know what socialism is, which is communism, right? I mean, that's that path. And it was St. John Paul II who went straight up against communism, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he not only was he a scholar, but he lived under totalitarian regimes. As a young man, Poland was invaded by the Nazis. He lived through that. He saw how they operated. And then the Great Compromise, where the Soviet Union essentially swallowed up Poland, and he lived under that not only as a priest and a bishop, but he inherited that as the Pope of the Catholic Church. He knew how they operated. He knew their mission. He knew their schemes. He knew their tactics. And his collaboration with Ronald Reagan was a true gift from God. It really did take these 2 men who understood totalitarian regimes and communism and socialism, and to collaborate with God's grace to bring down the Iron Curtain.
And that's one of your items here. You have his friendship with Ronald Reagan, his friendship with Mother Teresa, are some of the items you have listed here. I mean, I find what I like about this book, really, Patrick, is that it's an easy read. Like,
It really is.
listen, everybody. See, each item is just kind of like one page. It's a one page. And so it's a really, for those of you who, you kind of knew St. John Paul II, but maybe you weren't aware of, you were younger, so you didn't grow up with him, so to speak. Patrick kind of cut his teeth on him. He grew up with him. But for our younger people, you just hear what a great pope he was, what a great pope it was, what a great pope it was. This is a very easy read to introduce. I think high school kids should be reading this, to say, oh, this is what this pope really did. Look at all these things. I mean, Patrick, I think this is amazing. Easy read. I mean, some of the ones are a little bit more than a page, but they're just easy to read, easy to understand. And my goodness, you just get inspired reading
Yeah,
this, right?
I really wrote it for two separate audiences. One is my generation that grew up with him. I was 10 when he was elected. And I missed so much. I mean, there was so much that he did and that he said. I mean, I followed him voraciously through the 90s and into 2005 when he died, and read so much of what he wrote and what he did, followed him in the news. There was so much more, so much more. So for people of my generation, you missed a lot. And my book tells you what you missed. And also, and I also wrote it for younger people like my children. My oldest is 17.
Didn't know him.
And they didn't know him. They were either a baby when he died or too young to even remember. All the millennials kind of just sort of glanced over John Paul II right into Benedict and Pope Francis. But so for you, this is kind of a primer on his life and his legacy and his influence and why he was such a consequential pope. And hopefully this is kind of something to get you started to go deeper, because for each of these 100 ways, there's so much more beyond that. So what I tried to do is just take writing about his collaboration with Reagan to end communism. That's only 2 pages. So you read that, and I hope that's going to help you get into deeper books like A Pope and a President by Paul Kengor. Paul wrote my foreword. And Paul said this. He said that Paul's written 2 books about John Paul II, and he said there's things in Patrick's book I didn't even know. So if I can surprise Paul Kengor, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people with John Paul's influence, the scope and the breadth of his work.
That's right. Well, if someone were to ask me what was my number one thing that he did, it was the encyclical Evangelium Vitae.
No
I
question.
remember, yes, Gospel of Life, because at the time, of course, Father Frank was already doing Priest for Life. And I remember when that encyclical was announced, we were like, oh my gosh, on cloud 9, because we felt, and I'm sure you must have felt this way too with the pro-life movement.
No question.
It was like, it was giving us like the wind beneath our wings, so to speak, and giving us all the tools we needed to fight all the good arguments. We still quote that encyclical today constantly.
It is gold.
It's gold. It's gold.
Yeah.
I mean, even about voting, you don't have to wait to see what the bishops are going to say. Look at Evangelium Vitae. St. John Paul II was very, very clear about what Catholics' obligation was to vote, and they could not vote for someone who supported abortion. I mean, it was right in Evangelium Vitae. So
yeah. I mean, at the heart of his teaching is the inherent value and dignity of each individual human person, born and unborn, from conception to natural death. And if you take that teaching seriously, then we have to work to make abortion unthinkable. That's why I found it such a great blessing to be called to do the work that I'm doing now, because not only can I talk about John Paul II and his great legacy, but also put that teaching into practice in a concrete way every day that I get up and go to work. So I'm just thrilled that God brought me here.
So the best way, if our viewers would like to get a copy of this book, is what, Amazon?
Yeah, so people can find it on Amazon. It's published by Our Sunday Visitor. You can buy it on their store. It's in Catholic bookstores all over the place. Or if people want an autographed copy, they can get it at my personal website, booksbypatrick.com.
Autographed copy. Very good. Well, I'll tell you, I highly recommend it. And you know what? It's still, if you ordered it probably on Amazon, with Prime and all this, they could probably still get it in time would make a nice Christmas present, right, for somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody orders it between now and Friday, very good chance you'll get it by Christmas. So I ship the same day that I get my orders. So booksbypatrick.com. There it is.
Ah, look at that, Patrick! You're getting fancier and fancier with all these details. So now, what's your next book, huh? You have another book in mind, or this is a one-time book, huh?
Very good. I had a little bit of feedback there, so I didn't catch your question.
I was asking, do you have plans to write another book or not? Or you're just going to keep?
You know, I've already started my research on 100 ways Pope Benedict changed the world.
Oh, really?
He's 93, 94 years old. So his 100th birthday is coming up. And you know, his brother lived to be, I think, 98. So he could certainly reach 100. But I hope to have this out before he gets to be 100 years old.
Well, that would be a great idea. Well, see, now I unfortunately was never able to meet St. John Paul II, but I was fortunate enough to meet Pope Benedict, and that was thrilling. And of course, I have now several times met Pope Francis, so I've gotten to see a few popes. But I just wish I could have met St. John Paul II because he's just so special, you know. But I want to share with you right now, Patrick. I mentioned in the beginning here that we had the relic, and here it is.
Beautiful.
This is the relic that Cardinal Jebish gave us. And inside here, there's a little piece. What happened was when the Holy Father passed away, they took some of his vestments, like his albs, and they were soaked in his blood. And we have here a little piece of that with his blood in it. You see that? And
Beautiful.
so Cardinal Jebish gave that to our ministry, and because he said that St. John Paul II would be praying for us, watching over us as a special protection for our ministry. Because as you know, our goal, like you said, is to make abortion unthinkable. But we also know the other side is constantly out there trying to fight us. So, so we feel very privileged to have this relic
That's
here.
a great grace.
Yeah, we keep it in our chapel, and my producer here ran over to, when I mentioned it, he ran and scurried over to get the relic so I could show it to everybody. So yeah, we were thrilled. And you know, I've had the opportunity to speak to Cardinal Jebish, of course, through translation because he doesn't speak English. Father Pavone, of course, speaks fluent Italian, and so I've got to ask him lots of questions about the Holy Father. So it's always fun. And you know, he gave us, I don't know, do you know how many encyclicals St. John Paul II gave us? I know he wrote quite a few.
I would have to, you know, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's more than 12.
I was just about to say,
10, 12 years old. 26 and a half year papacy. It seems to me it was about 11, 12 encyclicals.
Right. Yeah. It was just incredible. So I think, like you're saying, Patrick, those of us who knew him well, meaning, you know, we were practicing Catholics during his pontificate.
And paying attention.
Yeah. It's a great reminder of all the things. You know, I totally forgot some of these things that I was reading through. I said, "Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about this."
Yeah,
so
you know, there were many things he did, many things he said that we just miss. I mean, his influence on China was amazing. And your friend and mine, Steve Mosier, just happened to be my neighbor in Ave Maria for a while. He's one of the foremost world experts on China. So when I wrote the page on China, I sent it over to Steve and I said, did I get this right? Did I miss anything? He gave me a few tweaks to the page, but I feel like I got it right because I tapped an expert to draw from.
Right. Well, brothers and sisters, 100 ways John Paul II changed the world. Like I said, it's a great little gift right now. You could still get it in time for Christmas. Even some stockings, I think would fit in some stockings, but it's a great present. And especially, I would really encourage, if you know someone, like I would say, Patrick, from confirmation age up.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to write it at a high school level so that you're in high school, you can read there are some big words, but you know, in context, you kind of understand what they mean.
Exactly.
My teenagers are reading it; they're enjoying it, so I think it would make a great gift. And like I said, Amazon, Our Sunday Visitor, or my website, booksbypatrick.com.
Well, Patrick, thank you for joining me this today on the program, and all the best, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. Okay?
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Okay, God bless. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed this little view inside St. John Paul II and Patrick's book. It's a great book to, like I said, to get to know the Pope even better. And thanks for joining us today on Just Ask Janet. Until next time, tune in next time.